Hello guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. So in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful wrap gown with collar and drape by the sides and with these beautiful sleeves. Okay, now we are going to start with drafting out our pattern. This tutorial is very beginner friendly. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is to get my neck width and my neck depth. So my neck width is 3 inches and my neck depth is 3 inches. Okay, now I'm going to mark this. I'm still going to go ahead and modify this neck. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is to take my shoulder width, which is my shoulder divided by 2, and mine is 7. Then from there I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and then I'm going to connect from this place where I came down back to my neck for my shoulder slope. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my armhole, which is my bust round divided by 6 plus 1.5, and now I'm going ahead to make sure that the distance is the same with that of my shoulder. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to connect from this my shoulder slope down to my armhole length, and then right there is going to be our chest line. So I'm just going ahead to rule this straight line as our chest line. The next thing you're going to do is to get the middle of your armhole right there, and from there you're going to go in by half an inch, and then right there on my chest I am going to get my bust round divided by 4. Mine is 9 inches. Then just connect from your shoulder slope down to your chest to get your armhole curve. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is to get my vertical measurements from my shoulder right now to my bust point, which is 11 inches. Then next from my shoulder to my under bust point, 15 inches, to my waist, which is 18 inches. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and connect a straight line along these dots just so we know which is which. So guys, when I'm done with that, the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and label. This is my chest line, my bust point, my under bust point as UB, and the waist as W. Okay, now this is a gown. I'm going to get from my waist to my hip, which is 9 inches. Okay, then I'm also going to go ahead and do the same thing, rule a straight line right there, and also label this as my hip. Now when I'm done with this, the next thing I'm going to do is to get the length of my gown. Okay, and the length of this gown is 44 inches, right? Now the next thing I'm going to do is to get my round measurements. Right, on my chest line I'm getting my bust round divided by 4, and I'm adding my stitching allowance to it, and it is the same with my bust. Okay, my chest is the same with my bust. So I'm getting down to my under bust point, and I'm getting my under bust divided by 4 plus my seam allowance. Same with my waist round divided by 4 plus my seam allowance. I am adding 1.5 inches seam allowance to all of them. Okay, so right there on my hip I'm getting my hip round divided by 4 plus my seam allowance, and the length of my top I'm going to remove 1 inch from what I have on my hip and mark it on the length of the top. The next thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and connect these dots together. Okay, now when you're done with this, the next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and divide. Okay, go ahead and shape this out first, or go ahead and divide it first, anyone, but we are going to be dividing this on the waist. Okay, because you know it's going to be a wrap gown, so we're going to work on the upper part and work on the down part. Now at the upper part you would see that the wrap did not get all the way to the side. Okay, it stopped around our bust point area. So what I'm going to do is fold this upper part. Okay, you're going to fold this your upper part and get your bust pan. Now when you get your bust pan, you're going to add extra 1 inch allowance to whatever it is that you got. Right, my bust pan divided by 2 is 4 inches, so I added 1 inch allowance, making it 5 inches. So now I'm going to connect from this my neck width down to that 5 inches, and I'm going to be putting a little bit of curve. Okay, if you want yours to be straight, that is your choice. So you can see that mine has a bit of curve going down to that 5 inches that I came out by. So now the next thing you're going to do is just go ahead and divide this. Now this part is going to serve as both the right and the left part of the front part of your top. I hope you understand. Okay, now let's get down to the down part or the skirt part of this gown. I'm going to be placing this on the floor just so we see this very, very well. Now guys, let's look at the down part of this gown. You will see that it has this wrap effect at the down part, and it also has drapes by the side. Now before you go ahead to draft out that wrap effect at the downside, please go ahead and measure from your waist down to the point at the middle where it is not so revealing for you. Okay, so right now I am dividing this skirt from the hip. You can see that the line is coming down from the hip down to the side, but I didn't go ahead to measure like at the middle where it is not too up or too open for me. So I'm just going ahead to measure down to measure it right now. You can see that it is at 18.5 inches right now. So what I did was I went ahead to add like extra 2 inches to it, just so that it is not too revealing at the middle point. Hope you understand. Okay, and I am taking this from the hip down to the side, and you can go ahead and add curve, a little bit of curve at the down part of your own if you don't want it to be straight. So now as I'm done with this, I'm going ahead to just cut this out, and then I'm going to also use this to cut out the other piece for the skirt part of this gown. Okay, remember that is like in form of a wrap gown, so it's going to be having 2 pieces, just as the top also has 2 pieces, okay, that will overlap each other. Now you can see that on this white paper I labeled right and left. We're going to be doing our slash and spread on the left side. Okay, hope you understand. Now you can see the 2 pieces for the skirt parts. I'm going to go ahead and overlap this just so you see or get the idea of how it is going to look like. So you can also see that middle point at the downside. So you can see why I said you should go ahead and measure to the middle point, like to the point where it won't be too revealing for you. Okay, now on the left part I am coming down by 4 inches first. Then from that 4 inches I'm going ahead to just measure 1 inches difference for my slashing. Okay, I'm going to be slashing this from the left side. Hope you understand. So guys, you can decide to do yours on the right side or on the left side, anyone that works for you. But for me, I'm going to be slashing this on the left part, and then we're going to be draping also on the left part on our gown. So right now I'm going ahead to slash this from my left all the way to the right part, and you can see I'm not cutting it all the way through when I get to the right part. Okay, now I'm going to be using this other pattern paper right here. Next thing we are going to do now is to just go ahead and spread this. Okay, now for spreading this I'm going ahead to just use my sellotape to hold it in place, and I am giving it around 1.5 inches space before the next slash. So you can see what I'm doing, giving it around 1.5 inches space before the next slash. Now when you are done with this, you're going to go ahead and trim off this other paper that we don't need. Now at that slash area, before you go ahead and cut out that part, please just go ahead and kind of drape it on your paper. You can see I'm just going ahead to just join it up, just join the slash pieces up. Hope you understand. Now by doing this, you won't have any shortages when you go ahead and cut on your fabric and try draping on your fabric. Okay, now if you don't go ahead and place this together and just cut it with the long curve of it and everything, it's going to kind of have shortages when you're trying to drape on your fabric. So just go ahead and pleat it together, and then when you are done, go ahead and open it up again. Now that way there are no shortages at all, and you can see it's even giving you a form of guide on the exact places to place together, that way to get a very, very nice drape on your fabric. So you can see the points that I am marking. These are the points that I'm going to be joining up together on my fabric to get a very nice drape. So you can see those points that I just made. So what I'm going to do is just join up these 2 points together. You can see what I'm doing, joining them up together. So when I cut this out on my fabric, I'll just go ahead and also mark those exact points on my fabric and just join up those points also together on my fabric to get my drapes. Now for the back pattern, I've gone ahead to draft out a basic block for my back pattern, and I'm just going ahead to trim this out. It is basically the same thing for the front. The neck by neck is 3 inches. Then for my shoulder, you know how to get your shoulder slope, you know how to get your armhole curve. for the back, and then just went ahead to get my round measurement, and that's basically it for the back, with the same length of course. Then I'm also going to go ahead and divide this at the at the waist part. So you can see that at the back it has an elastic at the back, that way it doesn't have any zipper at the back. Do you understand? It's not going to be having a zipper, it's going to be having an elastic, that way we're able to put it on without a zipper. So what I'm going to do, or what I went ahead to do, was just to mark my bust pan. Just went ahead to mark 4 inches right here, and I'm going to go ahead and slash this open right here, not all the way through, just leave just a small piece up there to still hold it together. So when I'm done with slashing this, I'm going to go ahead and spread it on another paper. So just use a sellotape or your pin to hold your paper in place. And then for my spreading, I'm spreading this by 5 inches. You can see it is exactly as 5 inches. So you can see what I'm doing right now. Then just go ahead and trace it out, that way when you have this and go ahead and put your elastic, you are able to put this on very well easily without having a zipper. Okay, now for the down part of the back also, we are going to be also slashing this by 4 inches, which is the my bust pan. Use your own bust pan to please slash and spread this. Okay, so when I'm done with this, I'm going to just go ahead and rule a straight line down to the length. Make sure it gets down to the length, that way it's able to spread out very well, but don't slash it all the way through. Okay, now when I'm done with this, I'm going to just use this other paper right here to spread right on top, and I'm going to be spreading this with exactly 5 inches, which is what I used for the upper part. Okay, so just also use a sellotape or your pin to hold your papers in place. I am spreading this with 5 inches. You can see I just marked 5 inches right here, and I'm going to be spreading this right here on exactly 5 inches. Then go ahead and shape this out very well, and just go ahead and trim it out very well. Now we have our back pieces and our front pieces ready. I've gone ahead to cut this out. You can see these are my front pieces. I've gone ahead to cut them out, and these are my back pieces that I've gone ahead to cut out. Now for the stitching part, this is the front piece. You can see I use it to cut for both the right and for the left part. Now please make sure to add an extra 1 inch or 1.5 inches allowance at the middle part, that way you are able to fold this to get a very nice finishing. Okay, so you can see where I notched. So after that notch is an extra 1 inch, which I'm going to be using to fold this. Okay, now I'm gonna head to fold this, and you can see what it is looking like. You can see how neat it is looking. I also went ahead to just use my zigzag machine to weave the ends. If you have a serger, that is even very okay. Now for the down part, the first thing I'm going to do, that is for the slashed part, is I'm going to go ahead and notch those points where I have to join or where I have to pleat. Hope you understand. So I'm just going ahead to notch it right now. Now it's going to give me a guide when I am pleating this. Now you can see those notched points. I'm going ahead to just join them up together to have my drape. Okay, so you know that you are draping, just take it easy, have patience as you are joining this up and just splitting it up together. Go ahead and be arranging it, go ahead and spread it out and arrange it. Make sure that it's very neat as you are pleating this to form your drapes. Okay, so you can see how I'm just going ahead to arrange it using my hand to just kind of spread it out as I'm pleating it also by the side. And you can see that those points that I notched are guiding me on just which points to place together. So you guys can see I am done with draping this, and you can see how beautiful and how neat this looks. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and stitch this up together to hold it in place. Then at that down part, I'm going to just go ahead and fold this to have a neat finishing also. Now for the other part, or for the other piece of the skirt, I'm going to also go ahead to fold the down part. Now guys, I've gone ahead to stitch in my pleats, and I've also gone ahead to fold the down part. You can see I've gone ahead to stitch this together, and for the down part I've gone ahead to also fold it in. Now for the other part of the skirt also, I've gone ahead to also fold the down part. You can see what it is looking like. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and join these two pieces together. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and stitch this from the waist down to that hip area, you can see, just so it becomes one piece. So how I'm doing this is to find the middle point of each piece. That way I will pin from the middle point to one side. Okay, then I'm just going to head to pin this together from the waist down to that hip area. So please go ahead and do this before you go ahead and stitch it together, so just so you don't make any mistakes. Okay, so I'm gonna head to stitch these two pieces together. Then I'm just going to go ahead and stitch it together on the waist part and from the waist to the hip, just to form one piece, right? So guys, I'm gonna head to stitch this together. You can see what it is looking like. Now the next thing we're going to do is to join the top pieces to the down pieces, right? So remember that this is a wrap gown, so you have to just follow exactly as it is, right? Whichever piece that you place in front is going to be the first wrap piece that you see. I don't know if you understand. So right now I'm placing the left part in front, or the left piece in front, before the right piece. Okay, so just go ahead and place the one you think is okay for you in front before the next piece. Now this way the left piece is going to be the outer one and the right piece is going to be the inner one. Hope you understand. So go ahead and arrange your own very well. Then I'm placing this from the side down to just where it stops at that my bust span area. Remember, when we are drafting this out, we used our bust span for a guide. The next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and stitch this up together. You can see I'm going ahead to stitch it together, and you can see how it looks. You can see how beautiful this is looking. Now the front part is ready. The next thing we are going to work on now is the back part. Now remember that we did our slash and spread for the back parts. That way we are going to be adding an elastic at the waist part, and we don't need to have any zipper for this gown. Now what I'm going to do is to join the front part to the down part, and I'm going to be joining this from the middle to one side. Just make sure to guess the middle points of the two and then join them together. Now I'm going to be folding this excess, okay, this excess allowance that I used to join it. I'm going to be folding it in just neatly like this. So just go ahead to pin yours first, okay, just so that you have a very neat finishing when you are done. So I'm going ahead to just pin it, folding in that extra allowance that I used to stitch it in. So you can see when I'm done with this, I'm just going to go ahead and stitch or do a top stitch there. Now I'm going ahead to do a top stitch, and you can see what it is looking like. Next thing I'm doing right now is just to put in my elastic, and this elastic is the measurement for half of my waist, okay, half of my waist round. Now my waist round is 28 inches, so the length of the elastic I used is 14 inches. Okay, so just divide your waist into two. That is going to be the length of the elastic you're going to use for this back part. Now as I am done with the back part, I'm going to be joining this to the front part. So first of all, I go ahead to just pin this by the shoulder. I'm going to go ahead and join these two pieces by the shoulder. Okay, now guys, as I'm done with that, the next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and shape it out by the sides. Now guys, I've gone ahead to join by the shoulders and also join it by the sides. Now remember that this gown is going to be having a collar, so I'm just measuring from the shoulder down to where I want the collar to stop, and I'm coming down by exactly 3 inches. All right, now guys, when you are done with this, go ahead and measure your neck round from that 3 inches. Okay, now what I have for my neck round is, now guys, I'm going to show you how to draft out your collar. First of all, go ahead and draw a starting line, a starting vertical line, and a starting horizontal line. Okay, that way it's going to guide you when you are drafting out your collar. When you are done with this, on that vertical line, go ahead and mark the length of your collar. Yeah, I'm using 3 inches for the length. Now at this upper part, I am going to mark my round collar plus 1 inch. So my round collar is 17 inches divided by 2, 8.5, plus 1 inch, 9.5. Okay, so I just added 1 inch to my round collar. Then down here, I'm going to mark exactly my round collar divided by 2, which is 8.5. Okay, so this down place is where you are going to be joining exactly to the neck of your gown. Okay, hope you understand. The next thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and connect from this upper part to this down part. Now at this other certain point, I'm going to go up by half an inch and then just connect it back to this other point. That way your collar is going to sit perfectly on your neck. Okay, so guys, that's basically it for how to draft out your collar. When you are done with this, just go ahead and trim this out or shape it out. Now I've gone ahead to cut my collar, and I cut this on fold. You can see I cut this on fold, then I went ahead to just iron in the two edges. Okay, so by pressing this in, is going to guide me when I'm stitching it to the neck part of my gown. Okay, now the next thing you're going to do is just to stitch in these two edges. That way you have a closed up edge and a very neat finishing, but you're not going to stitch it down to, when you get to that point where you iron, you stop. Okay, because you're going to still be fixing this to the neck part of your gown, so you're going to be using that extra space down there to fix to the neck of your gown. So you can see I've gone ahead to stitch in the 2 points of my collar, and I'm just using my scissors to just bring out those sharp edges. Now the next thing you're going to do is to get the neck of your gown, or the neck part of your gown, and just mark the middle point at the back. I'm going ahead to mark my middle point, and then I'm getting the middle point of my collar also. Now I'm going to go ahead and join these two pieces together from the middle point to one side. Okay, so you can see now I'm just joining the neck part of the gown to the collar from the middle point. I am going to one side. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin this, and I'm going to pin it down to that point where I came down by 3 inches from my shoulder. You can see it is getting to that point where I came down by 3 inches. And I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this together. I've gone ahead to stitch it together, and you can see what it is looking like. Now next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and just place this other part on top. I'm going to be top stitching, so you can see that ironing is very, very important. That way when you go ahead and just place it on top, it just forms a very neat fold down there, because you've already gone ahead to iron the edge inside. Okay, so you can see what I am doing right now. I'm just going ahead to place this other part on top. Then when I'm done with this, I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch right on top. Now guys, I've gone ahead to top stitch, and you can see what my collar is looking like. You can see how neat it looks, and no rough edges at all, because we've top stitched the other part on top, thereby hiding the rough edges. Now for my sleeve, guys, I have a tutorial on how to draft out a basic sleeve pattern, so if you've not watched that yet, please go ahead and watch it. I'm going to be leaving the link up here just so you can click on it and go and watch it. Now I'm just going ahead to just slash and spread on my sleeve. You can see what I just did. You can use any measurements to just slash this and spread this. Now when I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and fix this to my gown, and you can see what it is looking like. You can see the sleeve, the collar, and the drape by the sides. So guys, I hope you go ahead and try this out. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.